He's a Pro Football Hall of Famer, a guy I've known forever and a day. Steve Young back here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Steve?
Rich, great. Your opening, I got to be honest with you, bugged me. Like you're in a full suit with dress shoes on the beach. It just reminded me, are you the kind of guy that puts the flippers on in the car?
Yeah.
Because you're supposed to put them on in the water.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm doing, Steve. I'm just trying to come across as somewhat, confident. You know what I mean? That's the way I've lived my life, Steve. That's
common man. I loved it.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. Good to see you, Steve. How you been? You're good?
Really good. Really good.
Outstanding. So, your 2 cents on Aaron Rodgers joining the Pittsburgh Steelers and what you think it's going to look like, best you can.
Well, it's a thing, right? I think the first thing you got to say is put it in context. Aaron Rodgers, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Tom Brady all learned the game in a more sophisticated era before the rule changes in the mid-2010s. And because of that, they all wanted to play as long as they could because they knew that they were taking advantage of a system that was like so much easier, I'll just say. And Peyton still is upset that his arm quit working because he wanted to play forever. Tom did play forever, and Drew's arm quit, and that's why he had to get out. But Aaron, so people say, why do you keep playing? Well, first of all, this is what you're great at. Tomorrow, if he retired, he'd wake up and go, okay, the thing I'm greatest at, I'm not anymore, and what am I even good at the rest of my life? So please understand that the dream dies very hard. He is still very capable. He's not as mobile as he once was, but his arm is still in really good shape. And so he has the processing power from a more sophisticated area that he brings forward. And that you can say, well, the Jets, what happened there? Like with 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions, like he's gonna play well. And if you give him protection, give him some weapons. Now, the thing I most worry about, Rich, is that the Steeler offense, Arthur's offense, is not. It's like the most sophisticated offenses today are the innovators, right? It's Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, Sean Payton, and Andy Reid, who started it 8 years ago and had a tactical advantage for all those years as people tried to catch up. Now, 3/4 of the league is now doing what all those guys did. So they're going to have to reinvent themselves. But then they have the Steelers. You have other teams that are doing it differently. And I think Aaron's it's not a perfect match. I'll say it's not a perfect match for who he wants to be and what the Steelers are doing, and even philosophically. So they're going to have to figure out how to fit together. And you saw what happened with the Jets; didn't fit very well, and I'm worried that they might not fit perfect with Pittsburgh.
Well, then let me ask a couple follow-up questions here. Firstly, Steve, what you just said. Arthur Smith doesn't suffer many fools, nor does Aaron Rodgers, but they're both smart guys, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, what would you suggest would be a perfect blend for what both want to do under the shell of what's currently being done?
One of the superpowers that Aaron has is processing, right? He's been at it a long, long time.
Right.
And so what you want, if your processing power is better than average, you want the ball out. So you need people that can get into space. There's extra space now in the game. Go get people who are talented, who can get in there, find the space in the defense, which there's going to be some in today's game, and get the ball out. And that's it. So like fast hitting him, and that's what he did in Green Bay for years. And so if we're going to be a run 3rd and 8, let's sit in there and wait for someone to break open. That I don't believe that's what they're going to do. But to me, having him be, at least 50-50 on first down and even second down, and getting the ball out quickly, people can get open. Do they have the talent to do that? DK, has the size. Can he find that space? Can he find other people that can be deployed in unique ways? Not just like I formation is dead, right? The Titans keep trying to line up in the I formation, and you have success at it, but you can't go the distance. And so finding unique ways to go deploy people quickly into the open spaces that are in that the defense always leaves you, and then get it out. And if they can do that, yeah, they can be very successful.
And then pulling back on that string that you first laid out there in your opening answer. No, in your opening answer, Steve, where, it's interesting. You're saying Rodgers learned the game and excelled at the game at a time where the game was more intricate, complicated. The rules have now
There's
made
less
it.
room.
No, I
There's
know.
less space. Yeah.
And it's funny because Rodgers, when asked at his press conference yesterday, why are you still doing it? He talked about how it's good for the soul, and that may very well be true, because he's not going to sit there and go, why the hell would I retire? This is easy pickings as long as you protect me and give me weapons. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to say that.
Well, no, but Tom never said it, and Peyton wouldn't have said it. Like, you don't tell people what's going on.
But what do you mean by that? Give me an example. You were just beginning to give examples of how things are, right, I guess, easier pickings.
Remember the big rule change that happened was that defenders could no longer lead with their head. Well, think about it. If you had to close a gap between you and another person and you couldn't dive at them,
mm-hmm.
You now had to bring your legs, which slows everything down. And now now what's at risk? Not your head, but your shoulders, your joints, your elbows, and everything else. That's what defenders have to do today, and that's why the game suddenly got much more expansive. It was as if it became the Canadian League. The game, the field got bigger. It didn't change, but because defenders couldn't patrol nearly as much speed, it made more college-like space.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the college and the pro offenses today are very similar, because of the rule changes that are for safety. And so the guys that learned in an era where there was people, you patrol the middle of the field you throw it in the middle of the field at your risk of death, and now, I mean, Tom Brady said it well to me. He was finishing his career, and we were talking about one day. So, Steve, the flats are always open. The middle of the field is unpatrolled, and no one can hit me. Now, that's an overstatement. They're not trying to conflate the conversation, but mm-hmm. just that for people who learned in a more sophisticated era, it just makes it that much more profitable. And that's why those guys, and Aaron's the last one, right? There's no one, I mean, Matthew Stafford, Matthew and Aaron are the last ones. And I would say a little bit Russell Wilson, a little bit, but Matthew and Aaron are the last ones that have learned in a more sophisticated era and are taking advantage of it.
Well, who are the 20-somethings that you think have the skill set to excel if they can get the neck up stuff going down?
Rich, the game is my game, right? It's guys that can, because there's more space. The prototype is a quarterback that can deliver the ball from the pocket and is very, very efficient. We get that. But who also has to have the legs to go get the free first downs, the free touchdowns that are out there and that are wide open and you got to take. And that's why at the Super Bowl every year, you're seeing being led by the prototypes of Mahomes, and the Josh Allen's hasn't been the Super Bowl, but the Lamar Jackson has been the Super Bowl. But you're right, they're competing for it, right? In the AFC, that's why it's only one guy. Joe Burrow can run around and do it, and in the NFC, you're seeing Jalen Hurts and Jordan Love can get around and do it, and that's why I said for Brock Purdy, look, if you can be an amazing processor, but to go all the way, you need to be able to break the huddle and have the defense worry about you as the 11th person come out of the huddle to threaten the line of scrimmage. That's when things really get humming in the NFL today. And so he did that more last year out of need. But I think we should. To me, you need to plan for it. You need to have the RPOs and to carry the football and make defenses know that we're going to fill that space up as well.
Steve Young here, Pro Football Hall of Famer, chopping it up with him here on this Wednesday of mandatory minicamp week for most in the NFL. So let's talk about Brock Purdy a little bit, because he is now signed. This thing didn't go into the summer. This thing didn't go into training camp. This thing went right into his bank in a way that he's happy, and that the Niners are able to move on. They paid Kittle. They paid the people they needed to, Fred Warner, all of that stuff. What's your expectation level now, Steve?
I'm very happy with how they handled the offseason. Had a clear plan. It was a plan that was it was retooling. It wasn't a complete restructure, but it was retooling and making every move was tactical and smart and fast and then signing everybody and getting everybody on board. I just thought they handled the offseason perfectly. And now, they're in that space where they're no longer going to come out of the locker room with the best, roster in football, which they've done for 5 or 6 years. And with the best locker room, that got along, that bought for each other, that had their back. That's why they were in Super Bowls in the last few years. Now, they didn't win them. I get it. But they're there because of that group of people. Well, that's different now. And so I'm getting back to Brock in a second, but what they did in the offseason was really smart. And now what has to happen is your veterans need to stay healthy. Trent Williams, number one. Like if Trent Williams goes down, that offensive line is not the offensive, that's not a offensive line that's, top 5 in the league. But with Trent, you can survive it. Now, if the veterans stay healthy, and now you got all your rookies that need to pop. And that's what's happened. The Rams got it with Puka. They got different people to pop, and now all of a sudden they're back in the mix, and that needs to happen. So for specifically for Brock, he's a guy that his superpower, like Aaron Rodgers, but not learning in his more sophisticated era, is processing. So Brock, when he's thriving, you saw it a couple of years ago, incredible talent that can get open quickly, and I can process through it and get to that guy like nothing. All of a sudden last year, those guys got hurt. They weren't open right away. And now I need to extend the play. And now things start to go haywire because I don't have, like he always tells you, I'm not the biggest, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest. So then like my game is really about processing and you getting open quickly and getting a little protection and moving and getting the ball out. So if that happens and we get that movement, that kind of speed and attack on defenses that are time, like the time is right, like it's in and out, then he's going to be dangerous. But if it goes like last year, people are hurt, that's not happening, protection starts to break down, I got to start running around, ball starts to fly, all of a sudden there's interceptions, that's a tougher spot. And so there's a lot of the guardrails are wider for the 49ers this year. Like it's different, but yet there's still a path forward to go attack the Super Bowl.
So let's talk Tua a little bit, Steve. I don't know if you heard his comments yesterday after Chris Greer, the general manager of the Dolphins, said that Tua, quote unquote, needs to be available. Taking chances and risk is unacceptable to us. That Tua said the message has been received, quote unquote, doing everything I can to stay available for the guys. Like I said before in the past, nothing changes with that. It's knowing when it's time to give up on a play, end quote. Do you have any advice for Tua on that front, Steve?
Emmitt Smith said it the best. Know when the journey's over. There's a real talent, sophistication, a maturity. You can attack. You can still make plays. Just you're going to have to do it. You're going to have to end it earlier. And that's just how, he's gotten in trouble when you try to be heroic. Josh Allen has stayed healthy while trying to be heroic, and you just got to be smarter than as you age, trying to figure it out. But if you're not going to attack the line of scrimmage, if you're not going to give that threat, you will not be in the Super Bowl. And so he has to figure out a way to present that threat without putting himself at greater risk.
How do you do that?
Rich, come on, it's football. You put the helmet on, you got to go out and play. So no matter what happens, you're at risk. So that's just a fact. Now, how can you reduce the risks to not, spike? And that's why I say that's where the maturity is. But how do you do it? You can't and you can't, right? It's the game. And that's why people love football, is because it's got, nobody cares about what they're getting paid the moment of impact, right? They're just, it's a game that draws out the truth. And in many ways, Tua's going to have to, he's in a really tight spot, that's fundamental truth. He's in a super tight spot to be able to play the game the way it needs to be played and also make sure I remain available. It's a hard spot for him.
Well, I mean, obviously there's hard spots like health-wise in terms of what you're referring to with Tua. Also hard spots contractually. Do you have any advice for Kirk Cousins, who is 37 and seemingly going to be a backup unless the quarterback in front of him gets hurt or another quarterback gets hurt in training camp? Otherwise, he's going to have an earbud week 1 for the Atlanta Falcons, Steve.
Look, this will sound weird with my history, but I never wanted to play the backup. I'd rather do something else. I know. Well, Steve, you were a backup for 4. Yeah, I recognize it was not my choice. That was not the deal that was made, but that's a whole other story. But like at the end of your career, you have to just make a fundamental decision. Do you want to retire? When do you retire? When is it okay? When does it matter to you? How do you want to think about it?
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to retire 49er. It was important to me. And that's how I did it. For Kirk, Does he, some guys don't like, look, I'm a professional quarterback. That's what I am. And I don't have a starting job today, but I'm going to hang in there and be a part of and I'm in the mix. And that's the way I'm cool with that. I'm okay with that as well. Like, it just matters how you see yourself and how you want to finish it out. I suspect that Kirk doesn't, like, it's hard. Rich, anyone who has a dream, even high schoolers, college kids that play sports they love, they have a passion for, when it ends, it's a death. And I think that you have to treat it like a death, and you have to mourn it, and and the guys that play it their whole lives, and especially, with Kirk, it's his whole life.
Mm-hmm.
When it starts to get threatened to be end, it's not a panic, but it's like, I would do anything not to have it end. Like, this is what I'm great at.
Right.
I'm not going to be great at anything else. I might be good at something else, but I will never be as great as I am in the rest of my life than what I'm great at right now. And so it's just please give the grace to people to try to figure out how to end it. It's tough.
Well, for him, he would have to speak up and say, I want out, and, treat it like an NBA player, right? I demand a trade, or I don't know if that would work or not. Did you ever?
Well, the landscape is tight right now, Rich.
I know that. I know it, and it's now kind of set. You know how the NFL is, like, pretty much.
Right.
It's training camp. Everybody's already in training, waiting for training camp right now, and that's the way it's got to be for him. Did you ever say anything publicly to the media that I'm stuck here? Send me out of here. Did that ever happen?
I was always super careful about it because. I also recognize that I was very lucky to be there. And
why? Because it was Bill Walsh, and it was.
There are not many great places to thrive at that time at quarterback. There were a few,
mm-hmm.
and that was the one. And I remember the great Steve Covey grabbed me one day in one of my depths of despair and depression and victimization, and I told him how horrible it was that I'm not playing on. And he made the case that this is the greatest opportunity that I've ever seen somebody have, a platform that had Eddie DeBartolo and Bill Walsh and Jerry Rice. And you can ask Joe Montana mentoring questions. You're the luckiest man alive. And it really changed my attitude about it. So you have to learn how to mature your way through some of the dilemmas that you get yourself into. But the best way to give yourself a chance is to not make it a public situation. That's
and so I guess one last question on this Auld Lang Syne, Steve. Did you ever have to sell yourself to Jerry Rice when you got the gig? Did you ever have to basically take him aside, go, listen, I know Joe's gone, but I'm here, we're good? Did you ever have to have a moment like that with him?
We had to, the left-handed spin was a problem for a little while, and we kind of worked that out.
Mm-hmm.
And then over time, look, it was a transition like no other, right? It was just. And there were moments when I look, Jerry, we've been together for 25 games or 50 games. And I gave him some data, And I said, look, we are killing it, bro. And I think that I didn't know that he cared or didn't care, but I just thought it was important for him to recognize that, you're thriving, man.
What do you mean you had to give him some data? What do you mean?
What do you mean? You're killing it. What's that?
What do you mean you had to give him some data?
Well, no, like how many touchdowns do you have in 50 games? How many receptions? How many yards? Like, it's not hard data. Wasn't complicated. It's just like, man, you're thriving, and no comparisons at all. We don't want to. That's not what it's about. But just so you see, we're killing it. And I think he appreciated that.
Well, yeah, I'm sure he did. But I just love it, man. You know him. That's why he's second to none in terms of burning flame and competition and all of that. I was just wondering if you had to kind of take him aside and go, listen, we're going to be good. Don't worry about this.
Well, no, but you couldn't sell it.
Right.
You had to be it.
Yeah.
Right. That was not something you can go, hey, trust me. It's gonna be great. It was more, show me it's gonna be great. And that was the, and that was true for everything, right? Because Joe was he was the king. He was unbelievable. I watched him do things, Rich, that I just still today I'm like, how? Like, you have eyes behind your head? How do you there's just things that he did that were amazing.
Steve, I appreciate the time, man. And and I will appreciate seeing a friendly face when I show up to the American Century Championship in July, Steve. It's my first time there in 21 years. I will be there.
Oh, you're going to be great.
Oh, I appreciate the confidence. I hope I have stats that I can show people.
Just remember, your name is up there in lights, though.
I'm aware. I know. Usually, I'm not.
No help.
Usually,
it's not a best ball, bro.
I can't just say, "Can we do a shamble right in the middle of it?" I can't do it.
It just says Eisen, and then there's a raw number just trailing you, bro.
You're supposed to be helpful. Wait a minute.
It just tracks you. The only hope you have is to turn to the lady or the guy or the girl that's the woman or a man that's holding the sign.
Yeah.
And just say, hey, could you just stop? Just let it be. Just
freeze it.
Freeze.
Freeze it.
Here's 50. Here's 100. Just freeze it.
Keep it fair.
I'll see you tomorrow.
I'll see you in July, Steve. Thanks for the time. It's great to catch up with
Rich,
you.
Great to see you, buddy.
The one and only Steve Young, Pro Football Hall of Famer, always makes us smarter. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.